Hi, my name is Ilter from audiotechreviews.com and here is my review of Q Series EQ plugin bundle from Volko Audio. Let's check it out.
Let me show you the web page here. As the description says, it emulates the Q American Series API console equalizers. So in order to hear what these plugins sounds like, I'll be using a track called It Was My Fault for Waiting by the band called Atlantis. I will put the description below so that you can check them out, you can listen to their other tracks and support them. So for the EQ in this session, I'll be only using Volko Audio's Q Series bundle, but for the other tasks like dynamics processing and the other effects, I'll be using mostly the stock plugins that comes with Pro Tools, like D3 compressor limiter. So let's listen to the mix before the EQs.
Try to make everything that I see what I believe, but you always let me down in the end. And the more that I expected of you,
So as you can see, it has a very nice feel, and the whole of the drum kit sounds really natural.
to save your soul. And I know you will lead to my demise, but I just ignore all the signs, and I'm not gonna wait for another heartbreak.
Although the vocal and the lyrics are the most important parts for these kind of tracks, I also need consistent level for the drums as well, because I need to feel the groove and I need to have fun mixing it. So before processing anything in the kick drum, I checked the tracks and I see that for the sub kick track I don't need any processing right now, so I will start with the close mic kick drum. But before doing any EQing, I need rather more consistency in the level, but I'm not compressing too much, so this is kind of 3:1 ratio and just about 5 to 6 dB attenuation, so I can proceed with EQ right now. But before EQing, I need to go to the chorus section, so let me see it. So here is it bypassed and processing. As you can see, I boosted 63 Hz here because I thought this would be cool. And I used a QG because graphical ones sometimes looks much easier for me because it's straightforward. You just see the frequencies and I don't need too much Q points. That's why I used graphical rather than parametric EQ here. And what I done was boosting 63 Hz, as I said, and then cutting 31, well, because we have a sub kick channel for that purpose. And I boosted 63, maybe a little bit too much, but this is a review of EQ anyway. So what I don't really needed was 250 Hertz area, because it just makes it boxy. It doesn't sound really nice kick here. So I cut it a lot. And okay, I have some also high frequency content, like harmonics is a little bit boosted, because in such a dense mix, very crowded mix, sometimes it's difficult to identify the kick drum just with its fundamental frequencies, but you need more high frequency as well. Well, it's much more focused right now. And let's go to the snare drum, because as I said, there's nothing to do with the sub kick. At least for now, it sounds okay. Let's go to the snare drum, and here comes the heavy EQing. Usually what I don't like about the close mic is when you put the microphone too close, it sounds honky. So I cut a lot of mid frequencies here. My first EQ insert for snare drum will be QB, because it has 2 bands for mid frequencies compared to QA, which has 1. So maybe I will use QA for further processing the snare drum for filtering, but for now QB will be my first EQ. And I also need to make snare top microphone a little bit brighter, because in a very crowded mix, usually attack of snare drum is getting muffled, and I need more definition here. And this is where usually EQs make or break. So I will be boosting a lot here. So when boosting high frequencies, usually bad sounding EQ makes it really harsh. And that's why I usually tend to use specific EQs like API modeled EQs for boosting high frequencies. Other than boosting high frequencies, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be cutting a lot of mid frequencies here. Especially in this 1.5K area, it's really snare drums, sound really honky because you put the microphone so close. Let's see which frequency I don't like. Okay, 1.5K, I dropped 12 dB. But it really doesn't sound bad. Considering I boosted a lot of high frequencies and cut a lot of mid frequencies, it doesn't sound bad. And let's go to the low mid frequency, and around 240 Hz, I'll be boosting the top microphone of snare drum a little bit. Let me see. Well, not a little bit, but you see, for reviewing purposes, I'm just forcing the EQ. So let's see how it performs. Well, sounds nice, but I have to tell you something just before I forget about it, because there's something specifically nice about these plugins from Volko Audio, because I have nothing against fixed frequency bands in the plugins, because they are, tried and tested by engineers. But, this thing, when you want to boost something or cut, I want to be able to decide how much gain, reduction or boost I need more precisely, rather than steps of 2 dBs or something, because other API modeled plugins are just emulating the real hardware, and real hardware has dB attenuator, and booster on the fixed points, and this is this is exactly like how it is on fixed frequencies, but gain steps should be more precise for my taste, because sometimes it's cooking too much and sometimes salt is too much or something like that. So this is what I like about Volko Audio's emulation of Q series EQs, because you can decide how much you want to boost, how much you want to cut more precisely. Okay, sounds good. So I'm cutting a little bit low frequencies, because 50 Hz and below you have no interest in the snare drum. Kick drum or bass guitar should be there. So on the low shelf filter. By the way, these buttons work, but the one on the top doesn't really work. I thought it's going to bypass it, but it doesn't bypass the EQ. So here comes my question to Volko Audio developers. Will this work? I wonder. So we'll see. It's not bugging me at all for now. I can bypass it simply by Pro Tools own bypass button. And let's continue. Let's hear. Yeah, definitely we don't need this area. So first EQ was fine, but I just needed more cut. So I just used second insert QG, and because it has variable Q ratio in QG, when you cut it more in QG, you get more narrow bandwidth. So I decided to use 1 kilohertz additional to the one I used in QB. So I'm not boosting too much, but I'm rather cutting here. And here's an effect. So I'm scooping a little, even more 1 kilohertz and boosting a little bit more, 250. So I don't mind, as long as it sounds good. It sounds good to me. So let's go with the bottom snare. Well, there's a filtering on the bottom snare because you don't need bass frequencies at the bottom snare. I will use bottom snare more like sizzling effect, more high frequency content, no bass frequency. Let's solo it. Okay, just finished. Let me rewind and listen in context.
Is there an end to all the lies? I'm so tired of closing my eyes to pretend that I can't see the truth. I'm afraid that if I open up, I think the worst comes out.
So coming to the drum bass, I thought about using compressors, but I'm not using a lot of compression here. If I push something hard, these compressors will catch. So in my main drum bass, there is not much going on. But maybe in the parallel bass, in the drum parallel bass, there will be more processing. So I routed all of the, not all of the drums, but kick drum and snare drum here. And that's why first I'm just getting rid of the peaks. So I used kind of transient designer, bittersweet, and then hard compression going on. And then after I shape the sound with the dynamically, I will put some EQ on it. So I have QB over it. And because this track, parallel drum track, is more controlled dynamically, I can boost a little bit more high frequencies, I can scoop more mid, and I can put some crazy stuff on it. It doesn't matter because it will be below the regular drum parallel bass, so it will be just additional sound and compression. So only the kick drum and snare drum is coming to this parallel bus for now. I could do something else as well, but for this mix, I didn't need too much. Overhead or hi-hat or anything else. Maybe toms a little bit. So let's turn back to the mix and check.
Is there an end to all the lies? I'm so tired of closing my eyes to pretend that I can't see the truth. I'm afraid that if I open up, I think the worst comes out.
So listening to the guitars, I think I prefer them a little bit brighter. So before it's too late, I think I should deal with the vocals lead singer right now. Well, because there's a huge dynamic range from any singer, I have to make sure that the level coming to EQ is kind of more stable. And in order to get more consistency, I made some clip gain adjustments. I will explain how I did it because it looks kind of scary or busy in a different video, but for now I will just show you what I have done with the compression and first and then EQ, of course. What I've done with Bomb Factory 76 is rather soft touches, like
to make everything
2 or 3 dB gain reduction maximum. So
but you always let me down
in the second compressor I use again a Pro Tools stock plugin. It even is lower ratio, like 1.8 to 1 ratio, and you know, gain reduction is not huge and it's not doing too much, it's just a little bit touching. And then because the lead singer is a little bit sibilant, it's bright in the source. I don't know, maybe it's a microphone or the way that singer was singing. Because I wanted to reduce some sibilance before the signal goes to EQ, because maybe I will boost a lot. So when you boost a lot of high frequencies, the first thing suffers is S's, Z's, or any kind of mouth lip sounds. So I use this new plugin and it's free, Nova.
Try to make everything that I see what I believe.
Is it?
But you always let me down in the end. And the more that I expected of you.
You could use this plugin in a different sense, like dynamic EQ or something, but I'm using it as a de-esser right now. So let's see what I've done with QB from Volko Audio. I'm boosting high frequencies a lot, as you can see. And it may sound a little bit strange, but I'm pushing a lot of air into the signal by setting 20K as a high frequency content and boosting a lot. Let's hear.
Try to make everything that I see what I believe. But you always let me down in the...
What I want to try to achieve is, boosting such high frequencies that it will not disturb, but it will just add nice shine into it. If you have a good EQ in your hand, usually this is what I try to achieve, because adding 5K or 7K is easy, rather easy, and it will make it harsh sounding. But adding 20K is kind of strange. It will make it sound nice if your EQ is nice. So that's why I prefer EQs like API model EQs, because they sound really nice on the 20K or air band. And let's hear.
Try to make everything that I see what I believe. But you always let me down.
Nice. And I just boosted a little bit more around 5K, because in a dense mix like this, when the drums are hitting hard, guitars are hitting hard, we need more push.
Is there an end to all you? And I know you couldn't tell.
Well, I could process a little bit more, but it's just beginning of the mix, so I just need to check with the real world situation how it sounds. Let's go to the beginning of the track.
And you, I try to make everything that I see what I believe.
I'm usually compensating for the amount that I added with the EQs and compression, anything else, because when I bypass the EQ or plugins, I just didn't want to feel like the whole mix has collapsed because you made some huge changes in the game structure.
I tried to make everything that I see what I believe, but you always let me down in the end. And the more that I expected of you, the more our distance grew. And in the end, you're never there. And
Well, it sounds good to me. It sounds really smooth, and it was really easy to set up.
I tried to make everything that I see what I believe.
So before I go, I just have to make the last bit of touches to the lead singer. Because I boosted a lot of high frequencies, I need to control sibilants. So high frequencies like 11K, 9, 7, 3, all of them can go really haywire, and we have to control these.
I tried to make everything that I see what I believe, but you always let me down in the end. And the more that I expected of you,
Like this one, expected of you.
I expected of you, I expected of. And the more that I expected of, and the more that I expected of you, and the more that I expected of you, the more art. And the more that I expected of you, the more our distance grew. And in the end,
So as a summary, I really like these new EQs from Volko Audio Q series, and I really recommend this, guys. High frequencies are really smooth, nice, and low mid frequencies are warm, as I expected. So, and one more advantage over the other emulations, the real hardware is having gain levels 2 decibel increments, so you cannot precisely adjust the gain, whether to reduce it or boost it, but this one does, and this gives me more control over the other emulations. So I will prefer this one, and I will use it really extensively. Well, that's it from me, Ilter, audiotechreviews.com. If you liked my video, you can subscribe to my channel. There will be more, much more audio gear reviews. So take care. And let's end the video with all of the EQs engaged and all of the EQs bypassed.
just pretend that I can't.